this, we are joined now by Ciaran Browne, who is an associate professor in conflict resolution and reconciliation at Trinity College and at Quds Bard College. He joins us live now from Belfast in the UK. Professor, thank you so much for being with us on the program. Now, what are the ramifications of the forcible transfer of civilians? Because this is going to lead to other issues in the long term that'll keep Palestinians essentially out of their homes.
Yeah, I'm joining you, as you said, from Belfast in Ireland, and I'm glad to do so again. According to the United Nations, OCHA, 1 million Palestinians have been internally displaced since the start of everything, since the start of Israel's bombardment on the Gaza Strip. Almost 600,000 of them have been taking shelter in UN premises. On top of that, 3 seawater desalination plants have stopped producing water for people living in the Gaza Strip. And 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza have been unable to obtain basic health services. So that gives you just a snapshot of what's been going on. You have a huge movement of people from the north of the Gaza Strip down into the south who've been told to evacuate those areas and make their way south. And people have been gathering down at the bottom of the Gaza Strip and making their way towards the Rafah crossing, which, as your viewers will be well aware, the Israelis have subsequently bombed. So the situation on the ground in Gaza is absolutely dire.
You mentioned the Rafah border crossing. There are talks around opening that crossing. Whether or not aid will be able to pass through it is unknown. But let's say they do allow aid in. How likely is it that that aid will reach hospitals? How likely is it that that aid will be enough to heal the wounds of thousands of Palestinians?
Well, first of all, as I just mentioned, they've bombed the Rafah crossing. Not only that, they've bombed spaces that were holding humanitarian aid, for the people in Gaza. So there's no guarantee whatsoever that that aid will make its way into the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's an extremely large leap of faith that we would hope that the people in Gaza would get access to this. The only way that people in Gaza are going to get access to aid is if the Israeli army calls off this attack on the besieged Gaza Strip, if it is convinced that this is not the right thing to do, that this amounts to a war crime, that the United States and the European Union and the British government and anybody else who's been involved in stoking the fires of this conflict, that they put pressure on the Israeli government to pull back from this catastrophic decision, then perhaps we'll see aid making its way into the areas that it's needed the most. But the damage that has been done, just to give your readers or your listeners some other facts here, 90,000 residential units have been damaged, 19 places of worship damaged, 11 water sanitation facilities destroyed, 23 ambulances destroyed, 24 health centres destroyed, 164 educational facilities damaged, including 1 completely destroyed. And the source for this information is UN, the United Nations, OCHA, as of October the 17th.
That really puts it into perspective for our viewers here, Brendan. How hopeful are you that the international community will put the pressure that you mentioned on Israel to stop its relentless attacks across Gaza?
Well, we heard yesterday that Joe Biden, the American president, is making his way across the pond to go and have a conversation. We'll see what happens there. But all the signs up until this point haven't exactly been promising. As I mentioned, a lot of what has gone on in the last week has been facilitated by the way that the West has responded to this incident. I mean, they have given the Israelis a green light to go in and to carry out these atrocities, and that's absolutely scandalous. Now, we always have hope, and we have to have hope, and we have to remain hopeful. And we have seen across the world the response of people, ordinary, decent people across the world on the streets, calling for an end to this catastrophe, calling for an end for this absolute bombardment of the Gaza Strip. And it will be the people that have to put pressure on our governments to bring this to an end.
Right. Well, as all of this unfolds in Gaza, there's an increase of raids in the occupied West Bank. 58 Palestinians have been killed there. 1,176 are injured. Parallel to all of this, illegal Israeli settlers are being armed by the National Security Minister Ben-Gvir himself. What do you make of the situation unfolding there?
This is all part of the same wider colonial project. This is all part of the wider project to control and contain Palestinian lives and livelihoods. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, as you've said, we have now got armed settlers marauding across the West Bank, as they have done, incidentally. This didn't start yesterday or a week ago, as they have done for decades, marauding across the West Bank, targeting Palestinians. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that we were broadcasting images of disgusting scenes of the burning of Hawara outside Nablus, of the burning of Beta. We are seeing armed settlers shooting dead Palestinians and doing so in full view of the Israeli army. And the crackdown across the West Bank follows the same settler colonial logic, that is, we will contain and control and attempt to erase Palestinian lives. And that is the reality of what is happening on the ground. And let's not lose sight, it is also happening in Jerusalem. I have reports today from friends of mine who said the army were going from door to door arresting Palestinians in Jerusalem as well.
Professor Ciaran Browne, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour and sharing that analysis with us. We appreciate it.